Perfect. So you've had a very lustrous career. Now you are one among India's highest ranked squash players. You've brought about your own revelation here in India when it comes to squash, right? From earning more than 70 caps playing for India to being the captain for the Indian squash team in the World Championships to winning the Indian National Squash Championships 5 times. Do you now have a sense of contentment? Okay, this is what I wanted to achieve and now I'm happy, or do you have hunger for more?
Oh, I mean, I didn't really think about achieving so much when I was playing. I really loved playing, and it was a way of it was a new way at that time. Wasn't really a traditional way to take up a sport, especially like squash. So
True.
it was in on a personal level amazing, and I love what I was doing. But at the same time, it was a bit nervous. No, there was a bit. It was a bit nervy because. You didn't know what was going to happen. Everyone was asking you, people used to ask me all the time, so what do you do? And I would be like, I play squash. And they'd be like, yeah, 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 but what else do you do? So, and I'd be like, but, slowly that stopped down the line. But, yeah, I mean, I think uh, it to sports is getting more and more popular now to be taken as a profession, and that's great. And I think we have so much talent in India that the next bit is going to be very interesting as we sort out everything else. So yeah, I mean, it was normal, the regular.
So the good news is Pia says that we're both audible now, so I think it's good. And the
Super,
voice is not bouncing back as well, so that's even better. Perfect.
fantastic.
Now, when did you actually start training professionally? Because I know you were trained in England for 5 years, yes,
Yeah,
under Coach Neil Harvey. But what
yeah.
was the initial stage where you first discovered squash as a game and you thought, okay, this is something that I would like to do. I like to play, and you found your own sort of interest. When was it?
So my father was in the Air Force, so we had these small Air Force bases all over the country, and there used to be squash there. But I loved tennis. When I was, I mean, 7, 8 years old, I was playing tennis the whole day against the wall, whoever would play with me. And then I got selected to go into the Rashtriya Indian Military College in Dehradun, RIMC, and I studied there from my 12th to my, from when I was 12 to when I was 17, my school years. And there was a squash tradition. We had some great squash players, and the army always had dominated squash at that time. Um, Arjan Singh at that time was number one in India, who was an army player as well. So there was a lot of services tournaments, and our principal, Colonel Parab, our commandant, he was really instrumental in pushing me into playing. And we basically got to go out of school. And when you're in a boarding school, you play all the sports. I was in the cricket team and whatever team I could make it on to get out for even a day or whatever. And squash was allowing me to suddenly start playing tournaments in Delhi and Indore and Bombay, which was quite exciting. And I think we were really fit. The whole school, all the kids are, I think, one of some of the fittest kids in the country. And so squash is a perfect sport if you're fit, and that's what helped me in those days. And along the way, I've had so many people who helped me. I was keen. I wanted to play and I wanted to get better. So whoever could help me, and I used to go to Malaysia, I used to go to England, and then Neil obviously was amazing. But before that, there were some army players who that time captain, but now he's a brigadier. Sandeep Singh, a lot of players really helped me and allowed me to play my best. And then slowly along the way, I was like, why can't the best Indian be the best player in the world? And that's why I wanted to go abroad. And it was more a trial and error, searching for excellence, and getting out of mediocrity, which was the focus. And so I've trained in Egypt for 6 months. I've trained in France. I've trained all over the place. Wherever I wanted to, I would spend 2, 3 months trying to learn something new to keep the edge or to get a better edge. And so it was really exciting. That was one of my favorite things about squash, was that you could be free, and you didn't have an entourage around you. You didn't have much funding and support, so you didn't have the luxury of having a coach or like all the other players in other sports have, and but in a way it was nice because it was like you were going to all these places with some top players from their own country and ranked on the world, and you would stay in the same hotel, you would hang out with them, you play matches, fight, then go out partying whoever was lost. So it was a different life, and I don't know if it's for everyone, but for me I loved it.
Fantastic. And I think the chest of India swells with pride because you've brought about that sort of, benchmark for the Indian squash, right? So I think the whole country is really proud of you for whatever you've accomplished and the amazing work you're doing, which we'll be talking about in some time about START and the Squash Academy, of course. But when you talk of any sport for that matter, I think we require intensive training and more of a right training, because if you don't have the right training and the right coach, it can do more harm than good. Because when you're young, your body is agile, you get more accustomed to a fitness, more disciplined lifestyle. But if you don't have the right coach, the right direction, the right sort of knowledge, you can actually injure yourself, right? So what are the prerequisites when you talk of squash or for any sport for that matter, in your perspective, is a prerequisite for anybody who's wanting to start it?
For squash, you need to love the game, and I think that's for me the crux. It's not just about dreaming of success, and you have to have the dream, but you need to love doing it as well, because you're pushing your body to insane limits. You're going, your heart rate has to be at least 180 beats per minute, and that's normal, and you have to be able to handle that. So if you don't love it, the people who love it will beat you eventually, so one is that, and then it is to follow your dream. There will be hurdles, you'll have losses. I've lost so much, and that's really shattering, because you worked hard and a lot of expectations, and you're trying to prove to everyone that this is the right choice and this is what I want to do, and every time you lose, then that process takes a hit. So you have to go back and you have to like say, yeah, I did, what did I do wrong? And it was always I hope that the next generation has it easier with all those things, where the whole foundation can be stronger, because it would help a lot if you were more sorted and more settled. But I had some amazing people who supported me and the dream. One of them who really helped me was Sammy Thapar from Delhi. He was there from day one, and he's always said, whatever you can do, and help me play and stay in England for a while. I used to also do some coaching over there on the weekends till I started getting better and playing in league matches. So you have to enjoy the journey, bottom line. And that, to any kids and anyone looking over there saying, should I take squash professionally? Firstly, check if you enjoy it and really enjoy it, or you're doing it because you want to be seen like someone, or you want to, because otherwise it's good to play the juniors, play the Indian seniors, but to play on the tour, if you're not enjoying it, it can get really tough. And the second thing is, I think when I was 12, I started playing squash on the Indian circuit and in the junior circuit, and I started dreaming, and I started seeing the level of squash, and I started dreaming that I want to be number one in India, and by the time I was 18, again, I got a chance to play with Arjun a lot, who was number one that time, and he was top 100 in the world then, or just outside it, and played with him for 3 months, and he was someone because of whom suddenly I got really good, because you play with the best every day, and he can give you a few words of advice at the end, not too much, and you can sleep, eat, dream, think about it, and go for it again the next day and have the same kind of practice. Then you can reach that dream fast, So I was lucky that I had that period in Delhi in DSOI, and based on that and because of the success of that, when I got to number one in India in the juniors and the seniors, I was like, can I be number one in the world now, and is it good enough? Or why is the Pakistani players, Jahangir, Jansher, and all dominating squash, and why can't an Indian player do it? So the only thing is, maybe I should have dreamt of being number one in the world when I was 12, but I needed to have the exposure and see the level. So the short answer to the kids is dream correctly, dream realistically, but also the sky is the limit. You know, anything is possible if you really put your mind to it. If you really work hard, and you really dream about it. And people like Saurav has done it. You know, Saurav has done some fantastic stuff. There's the Joshna, Deepika, the next generation after me. They've achieved it because they had the right dream. You know, and so that really helps.
Yes, fantastic. Now, you were also the participant in the Indian television show, right? The action-packed television show, Khatron Ke Khiladi. How does it feel to constantly get out of your comfort zone? Because I know when I even think of it, it's nerve-wracking, you know, the stunts, the snakes, and much more. How was the experience from that television show?
Well, I just finished playing. I just hung up my racket. I didn't. The Commonwealth Games happened. I didn't make the team. I was a little disillusioned. I was 31 years old. My body was hurting a little bit. My back, my legs. I had played 15 years on the tour, and I was not enjoying playing on the tour. You know, and the same thing which I loved. Suddenly, at 30, 31, with the body not being how you have to really coax your body to get ready for a match. You know, so when the joy went out, I was honest, and that's probably my biggest strength is being honest with yourself. And I say, you know, maybe something else is there, and literally, I stopped playing or decided to stop playing very quietly because that's how I believe it should be. And I got inquiry for going for this show, and what struck in my head was it's in Rio, you know, and I was like, I've been to Brazil a couple of times, and I always at those times said, you know, when I finish playing squash, then I'll go to these places and really have a good time. And so for me, it was a holiday. It was a give back for, you know, that's what I believe. If you really do work with your heart, then in some way the universe will give you something back. And I think Endemol and the show and the way they looked after us, it was fantastic. You know, it was really a professional show. We had a crew from South Africa who were doing these stunts. So actually, when you're in it, it's not so tough. You know, it is, and it's something I was trained for my whole life. You know, so I've lived in the wild. You know, I don't like
You
too many insects. Yeah, I mean, all these Air Force bases are in jungles. You know, and from the northeast to Punjab, and you know, most of them are forested areas. So I've grown up outside the cities. So for me, it was not so bad. And then Brazil is amazing. I mean, it's an amazing place. So we had a lot of fun over there. And to me, and stayed back 3 more weeks after that. I went to Bahia. So the show was great. Made some amazing friends, and I got a chance with some of the best guys from different areas around my age group to go to a place and explore it. And we were doing 2 stunts a day, but we had a lot of other free time to do things. So it was really a gift, you know. So that's the way I looked at it, and that's the way I did the show, because I was not doing it to promote my career or anything else. You know, this was not my industry, but it was a great
right.
place, and you know, we did some amazing things which I would like pay to do. You know, hang under a plane with safety and like do certain things. You know, it was like, what are we doing over here? Go under trucks
Yes.
in the car, and also it was like an adventure,
So
and
what
that's why
about
I
the
think
snake? Because we actually had, you know, a guest, Sandeep Sachdev, who is also one of the participants of Khatron Ke Khiladi, and I asked
yeah.
him, "What was your experience?" And said the snake one was very scary because there were a lot of snakes and there was a lot of, you know, stuff that you have to do while the snakes were in the box. So did you ever do any of these?
Yeah, I picked up some pythons and you know iguanas, and yeah. But the thing is, once you know and you see the guys who are handling these animals with such care and how docile these animals are, part of the fear goes out. But the toughest thing about the show was to go first. Once you see
Oh,
two, three guys do the show, they do the same thing. So you know things I didn't like, I wouldn't volunteer for. But otherwise, the exciting part is to do it and test yourself. You know, and if you're really testing yourself, then you know what you're made of.
right, because it looks really scary for even a viewer. It's scary. So imagine the person is actually doing that task. Must be very scary. Now, you are the founder of START, which stands for Squash Temple and Real Training. And what's amazing about this academy is that you train tribal children from the Mokashi village of Maharashtra, right? Who've been, I believe, they've never been exposed to any kind of sports, forget squash, right? They're from really economically, socially humble backgrounds. So you're really impacting their lives. How has it been for you with the academy, and how do you feel about this overall experience?
I mean, as the journey went on after squash, I started thinking of what to do, and then I was helping some kids in Bombay and helping some kids who were playing on the national circuit, and I was like realizing that I was not being able to make the best impact, and I was not. The kids were doing amazing, but this was not what I had played 25 years of squash for, and I wanted to make a bigger difference. And then I got a chance to go to Kalote, and my friends Munna and Pooja, I went to meet them, and they started telling me about what's going on. I went and saw the village, and I think I was chosen by the village to do this rather than me choosing the place, because the village is perfect. The kids, every day I learn from them. They are the really the avatar kids. Like they are with nature. They are running up the hill in 15 minutes, which would take a normal city kid about 45 minutes. They are swimming. They are really athletic, and to me, and most of my friends who've also come and checked out the place, and when you see the kids who are keen, it's the most rewarding thing to, as a coach and as someone who's guiding kids, and to maybe look at playing professionally. And in 2 years, it's remarkable, because these kids are normally not known to have hand-eye coordination. They're normally supposed to be fit and good runners, good swimmers, and maybe archery was something which was known for with the tribals. But I think we've proved that they can do any sport, and the hand-eye coordination is good. It's just, I don't think there's ever been a squash court made next to a tribal village. So luckily the land I got is a wall touching the this village, the Mokashi village. And so the kids, it's like a community center for them. And they're seeing the best kids in the country come in and play over there. So it's been wonderful. Every day I feel happy working with these kids, and I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many kids like this sitting around who need to be, maybe not squash, but be given sport. And because today a kid in the city doesn't have that much time, they are so busy, and at max they're doing 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, and then they are busy with tuition, school, friends, and 50 other activity options which are there.
Yes.
These kids sitting in the village don't have anything, they don't have anything. You should see the way they play squash. They are 100% there. There's no distraction. They are giving 100%, and so it's really a privilege to be working with them. And I think every coach would feel privileged if they had kids like this. So it's the other way around. I don't think I'm doing the great job. I think these kids, it's a privilege to be doing something here with these kids. Because if you really want to make champions, these are the kids who will be the champions, because if a kid is playing 8-10 hours a day for 6 months, a city kid who's doing 2 hours a day is not going to be able to compete in 2 years, whatever they do. So a kid who's doing specialized training and really working towards it, just the number of hours, focused hours of quality training that's going in, sooner or later, the whole structure will change, the whole rankings will change, and there will be, as we give more access to kids from all walks of life, we'll see, that's what happened in Pakistan, that's what happened in Egypt, and that's why they're dominating the sport the way they are. And we have the talent, we are more talented. It's just, we have to get the whole structure right to be able to give more access to everyone and make it a level playing field,
Yes. So what's the youngest age of kid that you have at the academy? Who's the youngest kid out of all?
So there are 84 families in this village. There are about 350 kids, but we are working with about 45 or training 45 of them, who we took to the nationals and have a ranking and all. But they all say sizes and shapes. So normally I like to work with kids anything over 7 years of age. And 7 onwards, they can start playing a little bit. And if they're curious, they can play earlier as well and, get a chance to hit the ball. But what I think works as well is that we work with the older generation. We have 10 kids we had picked up right in the beginning with, who were super keen and volunteered in the beginning. And they initially we did some boxing and some football with them and all to get them to understand, what I'm talking about. Then they saw the squash court being built. So that first batch, they are actually coaching the rest of the kids, and we work with the top kids. And then the basic thing or the basic principle is that every kid who I spend time with, he needs to spend time with someone younger than him, who is not as good, and pass that knowledge along. because what you learn, you know, but what you can, if you teach something, you have to know it, you know. So you then,
Yes.
if some kid has worked on a drop with me for 2 hours or an hour and a half, then by the evening, if he can, or the next morning, he can work with a kid, a youngster, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid on the same drop shot. Then that kid, the young kid, firstly gets really good fast, because kids can teach each other better than adults can teach kids, you know. And then the
Yes.
kid
True.
who's worked with me for an hour and a half, he can really observe what he himself is doing wrong. And that's how I learned as well. I've helped a lot of kids in
Okay.
my school, and then I'll
Interesting.
be like, but I'm not doing it myself, you know. So just repeating it, what I know, the process is the same.
So it looks like the children have really taught you a lot. There's a good exchange that's happening.
And what's amazing is that we're getting some kids from the armed forces. So the NDA cadets are coming in and training. There's kids from my school coming in. We're talking to a lot of the Sainik schools. The Indian Naval Academy came in. So that's another type of child who's also influencing. So it's about making a mixing, like a pot which has got all the ingredients and it's boiling, you know, and then that's when magic happens. So yeah, I mean, I'm learning every day for sure. You have to be open and seeing everything. You know, I can see the kids on a squash court and I know what's wrong with their game, but then I have to also see what's wrong. Are they smiling? Are they not? So you have to be on your, aware. And since I only have one court over there, our hours are long, because one kid can play, or maximum six kids can play in a court for an hour. So if you have more than 30, 40 kids, then you're standing there or getting on court the whole day, So the next phase is to make another court, and then we'll be proper. Then the squash temple will be complete.
Yes. So I assume you've also tried some other sports like swimming, boxing. Have you been trying boxing as well now over the
Uh,
course of years?
so So I mean, as a kid, again in RIMC we had boxing. I used to love all the sports. It was amazing. I really enjoyed sports much more than studies. I did my studies so that no one could stop me from playing my sports, But that was it.
Right.
And while the academy was coming up, I got to work with Munna and Jagdeep Singh. Jagdeep Singh is a Indian heavyweight champion, and he's one of the top pro boxers in India in the heavyweight category, and he also happened to be in Kalote Mukashi at that time. So we were doing some sessions for the kids, all the kids from all walks of life in boxing, and then slowly we got talking, and I realized that boxing is a far worse place than squash and tennis and all the other sports are, and the real hard, strong kids, especially for kids from Punjab and Haryana and even Maharashtra, and it's a perfect sport, but at the same time they need more support as well. So slowly we started, we created a platform called Clean Fight, and we had some fights, and we're working with doing some boot camps. We're getting the Indian boxers to work with the junior kids, and it's still work in progress. But I like to believe that if as a sportsman I can't support other sports, then how can I convince someone else to support that sport, So boxing is very close to me. I think it's the perfect sport. You have the rich man sport, which is squash, and you have the poor
Okay.
man sport, which is boxing, and you have the full spectrum, and if that's how you bridge the gap. Everyone needs to be upgraded and everyone needs to be treated like a champion.
Yes. Now, I've also heard, I'm just curious. This is my personal question. Now, my brother, he also used to box, but not very professionally, of course. But is it true that boxers they tend to get more angry after they get into boxing more intensively? Is it true?
No, it's the other way around. I think
Oh,
angry kids would get much more relaxed. Anyone who's got anger issues needs to box and get it out of their
okay.
system. Even squash. When I used to be, there were times I would play squash, but there were times when you're a little down or you're upset or something, you can just go to the squash court. I would switch off and just hit the ball hard, and you release that frustration from your body. And so sport in general is good, but boxing is the best. It teaches you self-defense. It is great for girls. It's amazing for them to, they feel you start being able to sense danger from far away. So you'll be able to avoid it
True.
as well. So it's not just about I know how to fight, so I'm going to beat everyone up. Because
Yeah.
you know how to fight, you take responsibility that you won't injure someone. And I remember in school when I had one in my final year, I had a fight in the 65, 68 category or 66, 69 category in the heavyweight category in school. And my fast bowler on our cricket team, Sumit Bhatt, but he was in a different house, was fighting against me, and we went through 3 rounds. He's a taller guy, he was strong, but I really hit him a lot, and don't have much technique. And this guy
Yeah.
was punching me back, and he was giving it to me, and then finally in the third round, I think I got a punch in, and the referee stopped the contest because it was quite an ugly fight. It was not a good classic technical fight. And
Okay.
yeah, and nothing. I didn't think much about it. The next day we were supposed to go to Delhi for a cricket match to Modern School Barakamba, and we were looking forward to it. And we had the buses waiting. We had to go to the station to take the train, and there's no Sumit Bhatt. And I was like, Sumit. So I sent some juniors to call him, and then finally, after 2, 3 times, he came, and his whole face was blue.
Oh,
From the fight from the night before. I was like, okay. And after that, I really haven't hit anyone. Because you
okay.
realize how much you can hurt someone. So because you have the
True.
strength. So yeah, I think you can learn a lot from boxing.
Yes, and I think what you mentioned about the reflexes and muscle coordination is also very true. It really improves your, the flight or fight response. Whenever you're in danger, you know when somebody's, trying to do something. So in a way, I think it's very important also for women to learn boxing.
Yeah,
I am a natural boxer, but not a professional one. But when I mean boxing, is just some freehand. And yes, so it's really interesting your perspective on boxing. Now, what are your principles of success? Because we've had so many guests on the show with their own definition and understanding of success. What does success mean to you, and what are its principles?
well, success means happiness to me. I think it's not so much. I'm not so much freedom. I think fame versus freedom. I'm anti-fame. To be able to do what you can do and take a auto rickshaw or a local train and then go to a five-star hotel. That's I think success. You to be because a lot of people who have success traditionally get stuck and they're not able to do a lot of things. And they basically get caught up in the image of it. And because I've been able to do things and travel all over the world, by the time I was 18, I'd seen pretty much wherever I wanted to. Every year, I would put out the calendar and say, "This is where I want to play tournaments." So I think I mentioned it right in the beginning. My mantra is joy versus success. So if you keep having the joy, the success will come. If you don't, and someone who works really closely with me, Raj Arora, he took me to meet Geet Sethi, who's written this book called Joy versus Success. And I think Geet's one of the top Indian sportsmen who's ever been there. And, his records are amazing. What he's done in billiards has been top in the world. And he was amazing to meet him. I remember meeting him at the Bombay Gymkhana, and he would sit and tell me, and he gave me the copy of the book, and we discussed it. And he, at that time, was putting his phone off for a week during the tournaments. And this was an alien. I was to have my phone with me, and Raj would be like, "Who's my coach?" And well, my mental coach, I would say, he would be like, "See, I told you, you're all getting distracted." And so basically, that book, I recommend it. Everyone go pick it up. Joy versus success. It's very simply put. If you are successful but not happy, it's no use having that
No
success.
use to it.
And if you want to try and get success, you need to find a way to enjoy what you're doing, even if it is making a garden. If you enjoy digging
Yes.
that sand and getting your hands dirty and being able to wait, then you'll get the fruit of it. So that's it.
I resonate with that so much, Ritwik. I resonate with that so much because I think oftentimes we cage ourselves with the whole concept of success that has been fed to us by
Yeah.
people in the society or parents. Because I know I want to share this like very simple incident. So I was at this party with the really big corporates, and it was a big elite society sort of thing. and I could see they have measured smiles. It's so, I think it's so caging. It kind of suffocating to see people not express themselves. They have all the riches of the world, but don't express themselves. They're not happy people. So
Yeah.
I 100% agree with what you just said. It's important to be joyful, because if you are, then the rest of the other things will follow up. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Ritwik, for your wonderful, insightful, powerful, and amazing, humane perspective on success, your journey. Thank you so much for sharing your journey on the Tenzin Show. I hope people have resonated with it the way I did. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ritwik.
You got a great show. Good luck and keep doing it. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep supporting. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye bye.